This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. Planning, Environment and Natural Heritage Committee of Mono, meeting 01 of 2021. Starting now, I'll call the meeting to order. We have an interesting thing here, which is a standard thing on our agenda for emergency exits. If you've got a problem in your own house, you know how to get out of it. So first thing I want to do, this is our first meeting of the year, is to welcome Susan Pottle, a new planning assistant. So I'd like to welcome her to that. The other thing I would like to do, give me a second here, because we had, as the planning committee, we had basically put things on hold last year. So welcoming back the planning committee members, and to do that, it, welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to the same old place that you laughed about. With that, some of you will remember Welcome Back, Cotter. Susan, also for the minutes, Diane Walmsley is absent with notice, please. Okay. At this point in time, hang on, I'm going to read this, which is what the mayor reads for all of the council meetings, so that we're all on the same page. This meeting is being conducted by means of electronic participation as permitted by Town of Mono Procedure Bylaw 2020-42 and the Policy on Standing Citizen Advisory Committees as amended. Town Hall, of course, is not open to the public. This meeting will be available to view on the town's website and YouTube channel 2 business days after the meeting. So that's that. To committee members, we do have a quorum here. Declarations of pecuniary interest, which you can declare now or at any time during the meeting. Those of you who know me know that I believe in full disclosure here, so I want to say this right now. I have no pecuniary interest in this application. However, for the sake of full disclosure, the applicant, Michael Dermott, is my wife's cousin. So that's all up front. But again, I have no pecuniary interest. Can we have approval of the agenda, please? Can somebody move to approve that, please? By Barbara, seconded by John. And all in favor of approving the agenda, please? Thank you. We've got public question. Oh, sorry, John.
Before we break at the end, might I have 2 or 3 minutes just to apprise the committee of some things going on in Mono?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
We got our section new business and that, and I've got a couple of things for that too. So good point. We won't all bail immediately after the meeting. Barbara, did you have anything more there?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were waving.
Oh.
So public question period we do not have. So now this is a public meeting. One of the things that I always say for our planning committee meetings is this, that so that it's clear. The Planning, Environment, and Natural Heritage Committee is an advisory committee to council. So what we are going to do today is that we are going to pass a recommendation to council, and then a council who passed this to us, they will be the ones making the decision and that. So Michael, so that's clear for you, and I think it's clear for the rest of us. But we will be making a definitive recommendation to council at the end of our public meeting. So with that, let's go into the public meeting. The public meeting is an application for variance to the fill bylaw 2014-31 as amended. The owner is Michael Dermott, address 634447 Highway 10 Mono, which is the subject property. The legal address, Concession 1, West Part Lot 18, RP 7R1837 Part 1, RP 7R4096 in the town of Mono, Dufferin County. So the proposal here, the owner of the above properties made application to the town of Mono for a proposed variance exception for relief from certain provisions of the town of Mono site alteration and fill bylaw. 2014-31, also known as the fill bylaw, being a bylaw to regulate site alterations, placement of fill, and removal of topsoil within the town of Mono. I asked Susan, and she was kind enough. She copied the fill bylaw and sent it out to all of the members. I thought if we're going to be talking about the fill bylaw, we better all be on the same page and have a copy of it. So you all have that. The owner of the subject property previously imported approximately 300 cubic meters, which is about 30 truckloads, of allegedly environmentally clean fill to the subject property, and that was in September of 2020 for the purpose of building a new driveway. I've got so many pieces of paper here. So that really is it. We've all got the material, including Dave's planning report. So Dave, you don't need to go through all of it, but Michael, so for your purposes and for ours, I'm going to ask Dave to say a few quick words. Then it will be your turn to talk to the committee, and then we will go through questions from the committee to you and that. So Dave, again, you don't need to go through all of it, but anything significant, please, that we should know about?
Thank you, Chair McRae. So I do have a two-page report, which was part of the agenda. Also appended to that was the submission that went to the council meeting at February the 9th. That was Mr. Dermott's delegation to council. And of course, council referred the matter to planning committee. And so here we are today. I'm just going to go over the key information, plan information. It's designated prime agricultural, although this lot's been in existence for some time. And I'm not going over the history of there were some consent applications with respect to a lot that was created and then it was altered. I'm not going to go through that. Suffice to say, the lot is there as it is today. The lots on either side are there as they are today, and there's houses on all of them, including Mr. Dermott's. The key here is that Mr. Dermott used to have access or enjoy access through part of his mother's, or what was his mother's property to the south. And that's no longer available or became unavailable, and so he needs a driveway to his existing house. Hence this application. As I said, it's prime agriculturally designated. It does lie wholly within the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Regulated Area. And it's zoned Rural A. The only other thing I would add, not forgotten in my report, although not explicitly stated in my report, is that through OK 41, which was the town's natural heritage study exercise that culminated in approval from council a couple of years ago there's a portion of the land, excuse me, that has an EP1, Environmental Protection 1 designation. So there's allied policies under section 14A in the town's official plan. I've left a condition, or excuse me, a recommendation as part of the list of recommendations, E, the last one, should council, or excuse me, should committee want to add any further conditions. The only reason I say that is that under section 14, sub 2, sub A, there's a provision for existing uses. The driveway is an accessory use to the house, but it would, as proposed in its configuration, lie either in close proximity to or partly within the southerly edge of that EP1 overlay. I'll say that for now. It's an existing lot of record. The driveway is an integral use to a residential property such as this. And I really, that's it in a nutshell for me. The only other thing I would add is that we did not get any other comments or inquiries about this application as posted and circulated under the fill bylaw. There was, as you mentioned, Mr. Chair McCray, some involvement with our MLEO, Municipal Law Enforcement Officer, back in September of last year, but that was resolved fairly quickly, I think. That's all. That's my point of it right now. Thank you. I'm open to questions, though.
No, very good, Dave. Thank you. One other thing that I should have mentioned to the committee members, when I first looked at this application, I was confused. My wife will tell you I'm oftentimes confused, but I was confused because the application you'll see is on a committee of adjustment application form. This is not a committee of adjustment application form, but Town of Mono, although we have a fill bylaw, we do not have a form for a resident to apply for a variance to the fill bylaw. So our CAO, Mark Early, decided the only form that he had that he could put this on was a committee of adjustment application form. So perhaps someday we'll get a form for fill bylaw variance. But at any rate, that's that. Before we ask Michael to speak to us, Barbara or John, do you have any questions of Dave?
Can I ask? Go ahead, Barbara.
Barbara?
None.
Thank you. John?
Dave, can I ask you, the Dermot submitted seemed to indicate the existing house and the planned drive shed are well over 30 meters from the heritage feature to the north. If that's accurate, I'd just like to know if that's, I take it from the maps that's a good, accurate measurement.
I can't verify that measurement, but I'll go with what the applicant has submitted. If it's 30 meters, that's 100 feet.
And it being in excess of 30 meters, which is the real caution zone, that distance certainly strikes me as satisfactory. And the driveway will in no way be any closer anywhere else on the property.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to conform with that provision in our section 14A. And I think where we're going with this is an EIS necessary or a scoped EIS.
Yes, and I think
probably not. And I'll only add further that because as part of my recommendation, applications such as this are most always reviewed by our town engineer anyway and their staff, which of course includes an environmental planner on staff. So they will have to weigh in on the design and build of this additional loads of clean fill for the driveway works. And they'll have to be on site on periodic milestone basis to see that there's no influence. So it is captured. It will be, the work will be captured through review of our engineers.
so. If you keep in mind that our general rule of thumb is that we should start getting sensitive about distancing when it's less than 30 meters. And even it appears from Mr. Dermot's mapping that the fill that he has installed north of his house is still not within 30 meters, and it appears to be uphill from the low feature that has the environmental protection associated with it.
Okay, John?
Yes, thanks for that.
Yeah,
I,
thank
I
you.
too will check. The weather right now is not conducive to driving by and gaining any useful intelligence.
Okay.
Oh, John,
Jerry, I see a phone there. Are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Oh, very good. Okay, Jerry, we just started this. I introduced that you've got all the material. I'm just going to ask the applicant, Michael Dermott, to speak to it.
Sure. I actually drove by on Sunday, so I kind of have an idea. And I did hear most of the meeting. I can't get on your mic for some reason or other.
Okay, well, we can hear you great. So if you can hear us, that's great. With that, Michael, let me turn it over to you. And if you can just talk to us about your application and the project, please.
Okay, thank you for taking time to go through all of this. Um, Through all of this, you basically have explained everything that I'm looking for, and it is to create an independent driveway from the shared driveway that exists right now. As it was mentioned, I shared that driveway with my mother for some 35 years, and I guess maybe not 26 years, I guess, since I built the house. Anyways, that was a shared driveway. When my mother passed away in 2016, the farm was sold to a third party, and there were some family issues within it, and there were some legal issues within it on the exchange of the property from the family to the new owner. And to avoid those issues in the future, I was hoping to create this new driveway. And of course, if there was ever problems with the existing owner now, then I would not have access to my house. So that is the main reason to get that. The MTO permit was issued way back in '94. I just reconfirmed it in 2017. And I used ACON to construct that actual entrance when they were doing Highway 10 construction, just to make sure that everything was legit at that point in time. The driveway was never constructed for one basic reason. It wasn't needed until now. And so now that we have a new owner, that's why I'm looking for this driveway. Yes, I think I am in the regulated area, but I am well out of the most sensitive part of it. The house, the driveway, even the entrance is out beyond that sensitive area. I'm dealing with Nottawasaga Conservation right now to make sure everything is good with them. I have gone to Manhattan and I've asked them to give me an official or professional site plan. This has gotten a whole lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. And I now realize that I need that professional site plan. So I've gone to Manhattan to get that done. Yeah, that's basically where we are right now.
Very good, Michael. Thank you. With that, time for committee members to ask questions. Barbara, sorry, John, I was going to defer to Barbara to be the first
idea.
one, if that's okay.
Good idea.
Barbara, any questions of Mr. Dermott, please?
None whatsoever. And reading with the Nottawa Valley Conservation Authority, I actually tried to drive by the property too. I can't see any problem with this, as long as keeping in mind the respect for the environmental concerns. And so I'm quite comfortable with it. Unless other members have other ideas that I haven't thought of, it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, very good. Is that it, Barbara?
That's it for me.
Very good, thank you. John, please.
I certainly support getting a driveway to your house. That seems to be quite a useful thing to have. That
Yeah.
said, uh, there has been quite a bit of sensitivity in Mono in recent years, Mr. Dermott, about fill. So the question that someone on this group needs to ask is, where's the fill coming from and how do you know it's clean?
The fill is coming from a gentleman by the name of Glenn. I can't give you his last name. I think it's Marsan Construction, if I'm not mistaken. There has been a soil test or a report done on it. And as I have been informed, it is clean. It meets specifications.
And was that submission or I don't know, expression of about the fill being clean, was that submitted with the application?
No, it was not. I am one of those people that were involved in being charged by the town of Mono. I am working with the town right now to try and bring this matter into compliance.
Okay.
I know the town has received an analysis report from the contractor of the material, and what I have received is the shale aggregate, the underburden, or the basically the parent material. And from what I've been told, it meets standards.
And so I don't see it currently on, but I may just be not reading it correctly. I take it from that you would have no objection to one of the conditions of approval being that it passes that hurdle.
None whatsoever.
Very good. So I would pass that comment on to Dave to ensure that condition with regard to a certificate of clean fill might be either added or make sure amended in the conditions. So that's good. In your last, in your postscript to your letter, Mr. Dermott, you speak to the aggregate being shale aggregate, which is
Yes.
it's quite an unusual material, and then alternately you mention in the first line that it's granular fill produced by a construction project. So the two of those together confuse me a little bit. Perhaps you could clarify that.
As I understand it, this is the shale material that is coming out of the Toronto subway. And so, yes, I've got shale. I'm calling it shale aggregate.
That explains it. That explains it completely. I understand that. And you just asked as well for any advice. I really can't give you much advice on where some more local source might be, but whenever I've had used a need in the past for fill or top dressing or such here on the farm, I've used pit run from the Cox pit on Highway 89, just to the north of you. And
okay.
It's certainly cheap, possibly nowhere as cheap as the refuse from the Toronto subway. But nevertheless, I wanted just to respond that although it may not be in Mono, being on the north side of 89, that is a source of local material.
I would I'll add one point. When this material came in, I did not charge them a tipping fee. They did not pay me. I didn't benefit from any of this other than having the material as a base.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I certainly support your application.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, John. Jerry, please.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it at all. Obviously the application was approved in '94, and you got to take an opportunity when you can to get it built. I think, and obviously you need a driveway, so we're good to go.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jerry. I also don't have any problem with this. John, to your point about the clean fill and that, I believe I'm looking at Dave's report dated today. Item B is on the back page, the recommendation to support it. First off, we can see that the Director of Planning does support this application. But the second one recommending it, I believe item B there, variance be subject to all other applicable provisions under the fill bylaw. Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. Does that cover off that it's got to be clean fill and whatever, or do we need to put? Are we covered there, or do we need to put that in separately?
It's covered under the fill bylaw. It has to be environmentally clean fill.
Okay.
I think the matter that John member Riley brought up with respect to the certification of that material is appropriate.
Okay.
I just think that it's nice when conditions of approval can be read by mere mortals without reference to reading an entire bylaw. And so some reference to the fact that one of the most salient issues with regard to the fill bylaw is clean fill, which would just make it simpler for most readers to understand what the point is.
John, I agree with you completely. I think you're right. So if we're going to accept Dave's recommendation here, should we put a point F there?
No, it could follow right on that point 2B.
Okay.
Ensuring a clean fill in appropriate amounts, something like that.
Okay, Dave, can you?
Plain language along those lines.
A good point, John.
Noted.
Okay.
I have a draft.
Sorry.
I have a draft. I do have some draft language for you, Chair McCray, if when you get to the point of reaching a recommendation.
I think we're there now, since all four of us have said that we support this. So can I have somebody to move that we recommend to council that they approve this?
I will move.
Moved by Jerry, seconded by Barbara. Thank you. Now, are we going with what Dave has on page 2 of his report, his point 2? Planning Committee recommends that council support the variance subject to including the following minimum conditions. I don't know if everybody's got that in front of them. With the addition of what John had said.
Dave may have some amended wording for point 2B.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Dave?
I think if we simply indicate that we are the PENHC undersigned members in Tanimono, PENHC hereby certify the following recommendation. Recess via electronic meeting in Tanimono on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. The recommendation, I presume committee will decide to be granted by council. The reasons, well, as cited, but there's a demonstrated need. There's a reasonable certainty the fill is and will be clean. The various approvals from other agencies are in place, and the conditions then would flow to the ones I've cited with the amendment noted by Member Riley. So in other words, B would say the variance be subject to all applicable provisions under the fill bylaw, including that it be including assurance the fill is clean and with appropriate amounts of fill to be installed.
And to the amount applied for.
Right.
Which is 80 truckloads.
I agree. The rest would then flow be cited as they are under conditions.
All the rest A, B, C, D, E then.
Correct.
Okay.
You,
Michael, I'm assuming that you have no problem with that?
None whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. So to the rest of the committee members, are we clear on this, and are we happy with what Dave has just discussed? Jerry moved it, seconded by Barbara. As discussed, there any other discussion, or can I call the vote now? I don't see any other discussion, so Jerry, you're going to have to tell us verbally, and the rest can just hold up their hands. Jerry?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and everybody else, all in favor? So that's a unanimous recommendation to council that they approve your variance application, Michael.
Thank you.
Dave, you and Susan will be in touch with, well, first off, council have to accept our recommendation.
Correct.
And I
So
think they will.
what I will
Sorry.
do, Chair McCray, is I will have a short memo going to council, but before I do, I will circulate all members of PENHC the written recommendation with conditions and reasons. You can review it, acknowledge it, and in support of the wording, it can then be attached to the memorandum going to council. So I'll do that in the next day or two.
Okay, council does have a meeting a week from today. I'm assuming then that that's too soon to get this on their agenda.
Tomorrow will be department head meeting with review of the draft agenda. So actually, I might be able to get something out this afternoon to committee members for your review and acknowledgement, and then attach it to a memo that I can probably do tomorrow.
Okay, but Michael,
Memo to council.
Sorry?
Memo to council with
Yes.
the recommendation from planning committee.
So we're going to work this through as fast as possible. If we cannot get it on council's meeting for a week from today, Tuesday the 9th, if it goes through until the 23rd, you're okay with that as well?
I'm fine with that. Nothing's going to happen until well into spring.
Okay,
The only
so
caveat-
then there's no need to jump through hoops, and that if it goes till the council meeting on the 23rd, then we're all good.
Okay, well, I'll try. It'll be by the 23rd at the very least. How's that?
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure what other content there is on the draft agenda for the next meeting anyway. So, yeah, either or, it'll be ready for both. Either or, yeah.
Okay. Very good. With that, we have a recommendation passed unanimously. Anything else with that? I'm going to close the public meeting then. And Michael, thank you for joining us. Again, Dave and his staff will be in touch with you. And of course, once the council approve it. So it
Okay.
all hinges on that. So there you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
Jerry, don't go away because we're still, where's my agenda here? Here we go. Okay, that was our public meetings. Thank you. That puts us on to number 7, other business. So John, you asked, so I'm going to start with you about other business, please.
This is not perhaps business, but it's for information purposes. Everybody may be quite familiar with this, but I'll just summarize it. In as much as it is an environmental issue in Mono and has been given some attention over the course of the last couple months. What I'm speaking to is the coincidence of COVID lockdown of the GTA, the need to get out and about, but not being able to travel too far, and social media, which overtly advertises parts of Mono as being a great place for everybody to visit simultaneously for their co-joined communal pleasure. There are 3, perhaps more, problematic areas in Mono. The Hockley Valley Nature Reserve and its access points, the Mono Cliffs Provincial Park and its access points, and Scotts Falls, which is privately owned but widely advertised online as being a really a welcoming place to trespass on private property. So this came to a hub, if you like, on after a presentation by the superintendent of Earl Rowe Provincial Park over in Alliston, who has administrative control over Mono's parks, with the expression of an intention to build a parking lot in Mono at the end, top of the second line. This, of course, is not allowed in the park management plan. It raises many issues, but in particular, it raised a lot of consternation on the part of somewhere between, I'd say, 36 and 50 residents, all of whom have more or less banded together as an ex officio friends of nice places in Mono. And the moving parts on this are town council, town staff, in particular Mark and Mike Puttister, Ontario Parks, the Honorable Sylvia Jones's office, and there has been a lot of communications flying about in and amongst them. And some of this has been addressed already by resolutions of council. Our MPP has interacted directly with Ontario Parks to ascertain the situation and provide some guidance. And there is a working group which has no citizen participation on. It's a with the exception, this is a working group between Ontario Parks and town staff, with the exception of our deputy mayor, whose property is adjacent to the park and who actually is located at one of the Bruce Trail access points where this issue became self-evident in the fall. So I just wanted to let you know, to my knowledge, the advisory committee has not been asked for any advice on this matter, but it goes to the overall carrying capacity of public trails, including the Bruce Trail, parks, town trails, Island Lake trails, and how to get along in the COVID era when everybody is chasing each other's handheld digital devices around the countryside. So I don't want to editorialize any more than that. I think you probably know, well, I have represented myself sufficiently on this matter already, and I'm pleased at this point that things seem to be tracking in the right direction, but they do involve a significant appreciation that some parking constraints, parking signs in particular, may be in our future, as they once were around the parks, but the no parking signs were then removed for some unknown reason a couple of decades ago, and it raises the issue of enforcement, and specifically bylaw enforcement, and whether or not Mono may be drifting towards either some part-time, some shared, or some delegated authority over enforcement of bylaws. So anyway, that's just for everyone's shared information, because I do think this is the committee of the town that should be informed of what's going on.
Can I jump in here, please? First of all, John, thank you for the work you've done on this so far. If you follow third line down to Mono Center Road and don't stop, you wind up in my pond. So
Right.
we're totally aware of what goes on. It is ridiculous. And I think that the parking is one thing. I think the regulation of the park is another. I would even go further to say that the speed limits on third line, by the way, it's 70 miles an hour. And it's unbelievable. The amount of garbage, these people come up here for environmental recreation. I go with a green garbage bag on Monday morning or whatever, and we're picking up Tim Hortons coffee cups and whatever. And even as late as last week, there were park.
Oh, Barbara, you froze.
If I could add to Barb's comments while she's paused there, I just would say that
On the side of the road. My daughter lives
Barbara, you're freezing and breaking up.
the only other comment I would add is that I do think that overall,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
we can hear you but not see you.
Oh, and now she's gone. She may be trying to log in again. I think
So,
you know she had more to say, but I mean she certainly expressed the frustration there, and that while we're waiting.
To which I would only add one thing, Bob, and that is, as chair, you are, I know, sensitive to this, is that in my experience, the town council is by and large extremely sensitive to citizen participation in its decisions and in its meetings, which has stood it in good stead over the years. In this particular case, there is no citizen participation in any of the decision making as it's been going on this, except for citizens who have insisted on having their opinions expressed, and so it's an outlier from my point of view with regard to town citizen participation, but we should always be on the watch for outliers like this, and see if we can't, you know, get some appropriate citizen participation when this particular issue, it touches on so many people.
Agreed. Barbara, you're back.
I am, and I won't continue on. John's been very useful. Useful isn't a good enough word in pursuing this, but I'm not prepared to sort of stand back and watch and let it go. And as for John Creelman, they can park on his side of the road if he wants, but I think parking should be prohibited on the public roads. I don't know what the answer is. We usually, maybe in another month, we will have the beavers back, and that'll solve that. We'll have water all over that road, and that might slow some of the traffic down.
It's a remarkable thing that one of the items coming out of the city of Toronto midsummer last year was a complete panic attack over the fact that their parking revenues had declined so significantly during COVID, and how it had put their entire budget at risk, which alerted me to the fact that there are many municipalities that make a good living off parking fees and parking charges, and either of which, or both of which, could easily pay for the price of the enforcement. So we could discourage overuse and make money at the same time in a best of all possible worlds.
Halton actually has a reservation system on their, and I don't know if that would help or not. We have paid parking in the Monocliffs Park now, but they don't use it. They would prefer to double park on the sidewalk and block people's driveways. It's stupid, and it's quite dangerous too, because people step out between these cars. And again, the speed limit drives me bonkers. I don't understand why anybody has to go 70 miles an hour to get into a parking lot, but they do.
Yeah, you mean the 70 kilometers?
Exactly, which is
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
yeah. I'm going a little too fast. Mind you, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them exceeded the 70 kilometers.
I'm sure you're right. I see it out in front of my house here, and we're in a subdivision with a 40-kilometer limit, and that when they reduced it from 50 to 40, the only thing that happened there was that everybody was speeding 10 kilometers more than the legal limit. So it didn't slow anybody down. I don't live in the area there. I know it well. John Creelman is a friend of mine. I tune in to most of the council meetings, and it seems like this issue is on every agenda of the council meetings, and they bring up exactly what you've talked about. Parking enforcement. I think the last meeting there was a long discussion about putting no parking signs up. They got Mike Dunmore involved with it. Sharon Martin, brings up about reservation systems and a lot of different things. I maybe as the Planning, Environment, and Natural Heritage Committee, they will get the minutes of this, and maybe we can just. I don't quite know how to put it without it sounding so trite that they're going to just ignore it, but that what we I don't know how we say it, that we support the Mono Council and staff to as aggressively as possible seek the solutions to this problem. John?
Well, I was not raising this. That is something that I think we act on necessarily, but Mike Dunmore was going to bring back either to the meeting today or next week a revised parking bylaw, which dealt with the third line, the second line, and Scotts Falls. And so perhaps it's on the tabling and the council resolutions on that, which I believe could well be in the next, either today, I didn't tune in today, or next
And there
week.
wasn't a meeting today.
It wasn't. So it may well be next agenda.
Next Tuesday,
Then-
yeah.
And then we would have then received it as being an item as every other member of the public. And we might then choose to comment positively or add emphasis at that point. But I think waiting to see what they consider to be their best effort would be really good. And if they choose to do it without sending it to your committee, Mr. Chair, they do so at their peril.
Well, and of course, it is our committee. Sorry, Jerry.
No, I was just going to say we actually have the OPPP to do the enforcement, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. But if it was signed, and they are given a mandate to look after it, we shouldn't have to worry about an enforcement officer.
Well,
And I agree, and it's one of my bugaboos about. Sorry, Barbara. Let me just finish this, and then one of my bugaboos about town of Mono is bylaw enforcement, which quite frankly has been pathetic for years. And no disrespect to Eugene Lammerding, but he's a part-time bylaw enforcement officer who lives over in Grand Valley. It was one of the things that I brought up during the last election campaign. I think that all of that fell on deaf ears because town of Mono or Mono Council at the beginning of their current term replaced one system that hasn't worked with the same system and now is expecting it to work. So, definitely the whole issue of bylaw enforcement in our town is huge and needs to be sorted out as fast as possible and to the satisfaction of people. So anyhow, that's my rant on that one. Barbara?
I was just going to add a rant on the OPP. First of all, the OPP doesn't come when you call them over this. I've called them several times. I've gone outside and walked up and down and spoken to drivers and said, can you not read the signs? But the OPP does not really respond on a regular basis to complaints about that. They're too busy checking for speeders on Airport Road.
Yeah.
And maybe they should, Barbara, be talk to the Solicitor General.
One would hope.
And they're understaffed too for the area that they have to cover, especially on the weekends.
Absolutely. I mean, the town of Mono is a huge geographical area with a small population. I think the last count from the health unit was about 10,300 and change. But in a very large geographical area, who knows how many OPP officers there are on the road at any one time and that. So, but I don't know if, John, sorry.
I was just going to say that the OPP has quite a bit of experience with this. The focus of that experience in this neighborhood is at the Forks of the Credit in Bell Fountain, where this problem has predated the problem in Mono by about a decade. And so I think that's part of the discussion right now is whether or not park staff can be delegated with enforcement authority and whether some combination of park staff, OPP, and to my preference, a part-time Mono enforcement officer who can cover his salary and with parking fees. So I think there's somewhere in there. There's the shape of a future going forward.
I agree. Anybody else? Susan, I don't know how you summarize this in the minutes, but I do think that we can say that we had a discussion about the issue and that the planning committee requests that council and staff work to solve it as aggressively and as quickly as possible. Does that make any sense?
You could just say we stand ready to assist and advise.
Good point, John. Yeah, So, okay. I have a couple of things. Anybody else? Any new business? Okay, seeing none, let me move along with this. First thing, which we haven't had a meeting. Our last one was February 25th, 2020. And that I missed it when the agenda for this meeting came out. We should have actually had an agenda item on here for approving the minutes of the February 25th, 2020 meeting. And that I didn't want to sorry?
I so move.
Dave, can we do that? I was going to have it go to the next meeting, but can we do it?
We already, Chair McCray, you mean the next available plan committee meeting?
Can we just put this as an item here now and move it and pass it, even though it's not on the agenda?
You could. You still have to have a chance to review the draft document. But
No,
fundamentally, yeah.
no. We're talking about the minutes of the February 25th, 2020 meeting, the last one we had here.
No, I understand
We
that.
all have them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I
Yeah,
apologize. Okay, that's right. They're
we
done.
can do
Yes,
that now, right?
Yes,
yes.
go ahead,
Why
Chair. It's
not?
your meeting.
So then, moved by John that we, as long as this is okay with the rest of the committee members, but let's clear this one up. Moved by John that we approve the minutes of the Tuesday, February 25th, 2020 meeting.
Second by Jerry.
Barbara, all in favor, Jerry?
Yes.
Yes. So, all in favor, that's passed. So Susan, however you put that in the minutes, we've cleared that one off. And that, so, our next meeting, there will be minutes of this meeting, which we will go through the normal process. The last thing, and the one that I have here, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it is the fill bylaw. The fill bylaw, and that on the town website, it talks about working on a new fill bylaw. Dave, this is close to your and my heart. Frankly, when I went online, here it is here, the current fill bylaw that Susan sent to us all. I naively thought the council had passed a new fill bylaw, when in fact all they passed was a one-page amendment to the 2014 fill bylaw, which is so antiquated that it's near on useless. So what I want to put in with everybody's approval, and Dave, and going back to the previous planning committee, we worked on this for 2-3 years, Dave, long time. And so, frankly, I was disgusted when I saw this. I thought that it was moving forward faster. I would like this committee to make a recommendation or whatever, a note to council to push on with the new fill bylaw and get it passed and through the House as fast as possible. Does that make sense to everybody?
It makes sense to me. I appreciate how thoughtless I was to assume that when we just dealt with the previous planning matter, we were making reference to being in compliance with the fill bylaw, and then of course when I look at this, it doesn't. It's the old bylaw. So I think with regard to it being clean fill, for example, the requirement that it meet that that table that MOECP has out for the definition of clean fill is not attached to the old fill bylaw, and it of course has been attached to every nominated replacement for the fill bylaw, but unless I'm incorrect, it's not attached, it's not part and parcel of this one. And so just to think retroactively here, Dave, you'll know what schedule that I'm speaking to, which is the provincial definition of clean fill.
Mhm.
And perhaps our conditional approval for Mr. Dermott should make specific reference to that if in fact that particular schedule is not referred to in this particular 2014 bylaw.
John, we've,
Definition, so I don't think it's in
sorry,
the
Dave.
definition. It's in the definition of the existing bylaws to fill having to be clean fill and under section 2. So no, I don't think that would preclude being added into the recommendation from committee. Could be added.
And so that's
of clean
section
fill
2, the
for any-
general provisions?
Correct. So it's
Where-
it's under
Like there is no definition of clean fill. And I'm
No,
just
but it's
looking under the general provision,
under,
section 2.
just a second now, I had it here. It's under 2D. All fill to be dumped or placed shall be clean and free.
2,
D.
I've got general provisions that start here, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. I don't see a 2B at all.
It's the fill bylaw is 2014-31 as amended by 2027.
You're right.
Yes.
So which
The
page are you looking at?
That would be on page, excuse me, hang on, page, sorry, I'm sorry, under the Schedule B, my apologies. Item 2 under Schedule B, sorry. D,
Schedule
excuse me.
B.
Yeah,
D,
2B
under
under
Schedule B.
Schedule B.
Sorry about that.
Well, mine says a site alteration approval is not transferable.
Oh,
Oh, I see.
Schedule B,
Number
John.
D, all trash to be dumped. Yeah, all fill to be
Yeah.
dumped.
Yeah.
Within the meaning of the Environmental Protection Act, but it doesn't cite that particular schedule.
No, it doesn't.
It's
So,
just, I mean, it's like
I can add
driving
that.
a truck into an airport. I mean, it's nice to go to the right depot when you're there.
I can
John,
add that in.
I didn't mean to open up this big of a can of worms, but
And I apologize for
listen,
pursuing
we
that.
dealt with it with Jerry's neighbor, Mr. Ritchie, up the hill from him, and that about clean fill, and that it actually reinforces my point that council needs to get off their behind and you know, get the new fill bylaw, which I personally worked on, Dave worked on, other members of the residents of the town worked on, and we'd actually given one to council probably 2 years ago, maybe 3, and they didn't pass it. So I think one of the things as our committee is we got to push them. So get the job done and get the new fill bylaw. So we're not working with one from 2014 with a one page update in 2020.
How do you wish Susan to express that in minutes?
Yeah, Chair Bob McRae is so pissed off that he gave 3
No,
years
no,
of his
no,
life.
no.
No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. No, but we did. Dave, we spent a lot of time on this, and we
Yeah,
still
I'm
don't
going to
have
know.
a
We can identify that
so
in the minutes. It
you're,
will be identified as an item in the minutes.
Susan's going to put it in politely that we are encouraging council, since we're working with a bylaw from 2014, to encourage council to move as fast as possible forward with replacing it with an updated fill bylaw. How's that sound?
I've got that. Susan, did you hear that?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
So I'll
You
confer
can
with
find it.
about the language as
Yeah.
an item in the minutes.
I,
There was a delay because of certain matters under enforcement, including the one that Mr. McRae mentioned, that did delay that. But no, it has been some time since the draft that was prepared has come to council.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that was I didn't want to leave this meeting without putting that in our minutes to John, as you and Barbara pushing about the issue that you've got up there with the cars and third line and around the parks and the like. This is one, planning committee. Most of the time we take our direction from council on issues. That does not preclude us from, as you brought up, bringing up issues and sending it back to council. And as a responsible planning committee, if there's anything, and Jerry, in the past, we've sent stuff to them about tree cutting and other things and that. So it's one of the reasons that I'm on the committee. We feel free if there's something to bring it up, and we'll send it back to the council and say, you should deal with this. How's that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Dave probably knows of a situation that's kind of near and dear to my heart right across the road, and I can't. I'm kind of in the middle of this because I rent part of the land, but I hope that's being looked after.
Okay. With that,
Jerry,
sorry, Dave.
that I've noted Jerry's comment.
Very good. Listen, with that, thank you, everybody. I think we did a great job here today. We've done good work for the town and for residents. Dave, you and I have talked, and there are some other issues that are going to be coming up for the planning committee to deal with. We don't want to get into specifics here today, but my question to you is are any of these things going to come forward that a month from now we'll be needing another planning committee meeting?
No, it won't be a month. There's one, it's a couple fairly significant. By that, I don't mean necessarily overtly large geographically, but there's at least a couple that will be coming through Planning Act applications to committee. I'm probably maybe 2 months away. We've got to get through agency technical comments, and we usually allow them 30 days anyway.
Okay.
That will result in probably a short report to council as an update that probably, I'm trying to read my crystal ball here, probably would include or result in a referral, unexpected referral, shall I say, to a planning committee for review.
Okay, so we're at least, I'd just like to give everybody a heads up. We're about at least 2 months off before we're going to be seeing anything again.
Some of you sit on committee of adjustment. There will be things that are coming up probably definitely within 2 months, but the other matters for planning committee are probably going to be a couple of months away. It sounds like a long time away, but in the scheme, it won't be really.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. One last thing that I should have brought up. The reason why Diane Walmsley cannot attend today's meeting is most of us know that she had twins, what was it, a little over a year ago or so. She apologized, and her situation, she cannot deal with meetings during the day. So I felt bad about that. It works fine for me. I'm retired and that, but I just wonder if we should think about the next meeting being a night meeting so it gives her an opportunity to attend. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Sure, that works good.
Yeah.
Fine by me.
So we are unanimous about that. I did feel badly, and because of her situation with her family, I value her opinion, and I would like her to do that. So, Dave, I don't know from your side of things or Andrew's side of things, the technically having a meeting at night. Although I do see on the latest calendar here for the town that. No, they haven't actually scheduled any night meetings.
No, not yet.
They're all, everything is 9 o'clock, and then starting April 27th to be determined. So I don't know. Dave,
Your days aren't long enough anyway, Dave, are they?
Sorry?
Say Dave's days aren't long enough anyway, are they? So we make him work at night too. Sorry, Dave.
Including the
Well,
weekends sometimes. My only comment, Bob, would be I'd like to just confer with Andrew Dahmer, who is our invaluable tech support guy here, and with council, and also with Susan. So I'm narrowing down on what the hour will be. And I mean, we've usually had it at 7, but I'll get back to you on that in committee. So as long as committee is amenable to something they can work with, yeah, I suppose we can make that happen.
Dave, I'm just asking you, look into it and see. At some point in time, council are going to have a night meeting. They have to, because
Oh,
9 o'clock meetings exclude too many residents who cannot attend meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning. I can, but it's so you understand. So I'll leave that with you to talk about that. Again, I want to be able to tell our friend Diane that no promises, but we're working on it.
will do. I'll get back to Kimmy on that. We'll have an email out as to setting out a time slot.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I've talked enough here. Anything else from any of the committee members? And seeing none, just my heartfelt thanks. Thank you for two things. One, being enthusiastic about getting our planning committee going again. You can see we have some issues. There's going to be some good things that we're going to get to work on here. So thank you for that. Thank you for your attendance today. We did good work again. We've sent the right recommendation to council. I don't. I'm not a betting man, so I can't say what they'll do, but I shouldn't think they'll have a problem. But anyhow, thank you for everything, and enjoy the rest of this sunny day. With that,
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, David. Thank you, Andrew.
yes, yeah, good point, John. Thank you, Susan, Andrew, Dave. Do we have somebody to move to close the meeting? Barbara, seconded by John. All in favor?
Move to
Yep.
adjourn.
Have a good day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.